It's time we take a look at the Hoenn Elite Four. Technically, my first Pokemon game was Ruby. It was my cousin's and I swiped it to finally play the series for myself when I was around 7 or so, though they found out and justifiably took it back. Anyway, we're looking at the Emerald version for their teams, as it's differentiated from Ruby and Sapphire a fair bit, including changing the champion from Steven to some rando called Wallace. We'll be scaling up their difficulty to a hypothetical hard mode, if Game Freak ever made that a thing, so expect some level scaling, better team compositions, improved movesets, and actually using held items. So sit back and relax as I go over the Hoenn Elite Four. Sidney, the Dark-type member, he has a unique haircut. I thought it was a mohawk as a kid, but it turns out it's just like, I don't know, a drop of blood, because dark types are evil. He seems like a chill guy though, through the 3 sentences we see of him. Even tells the player they've got what it takes to go far. Let's see his team and find out if he deserves his spot as an E4 member. He leads with a Mightyena at level 46, with Intimidate, Unknowing Crunch, Double Edge, Sand Attack and Roar. Mightyena you could consider the bog standard dark type of this region, an early game Pokemon with underwhelming stats, and with dark type being special in this gen, it can't even utilise its stab to the fullest. Its moveset isn't great either. Sand Attack and Roar together, that seems like anti-synergy, especially with Intimidate. And Roar doesn't really get anything achieved for Sidney, considering no entry hazards, and the player can just switch back in next turn anyway. For its offensive moves, yeah, Stab Crunch, that's fine. Double Edge coverage, I'm not a fan of that much, but it is at least a high base power attack, and Mightyena isn't made of options. Also, its level is a little low. It's the same as Hoenn's Ace, except it's a Mightyena and not a Kingdra. Shiftry's out next at level 48 with Chlorophyll, and it knows Extra Sensory, Swagger, Double Team and Torment. Stat-wise it's okay, a mixed attacker, but we only have one attacking move, which feels a bit wasteful, and it's not Stab, coming off of the lower offense stat. And Extra Sensory is cool to see though, except it's an illegal move since Nuzleaf gets that at level 49 and you cannot breed it onto a C-Dot. Exposed. So clearly Shiftry is meant to harass the player with Double Team spam and Swagger to confuse, which can work to be fair, but it's just fairly RNG dependent. At least they didn't give it the rival treatment with Maze Ludicolo and just gave it the 4 level up moveset Shiftry gets. Third out is Cacturne at level 46, with the Sandveil ability, knowing Feint Attack, Needle Arm, Cotton Spore and Leech Seed. Another grass dark type, slower and frailer than Shiftry, but has higher offenses. It's just a shame in Gen 3 its strongest stab moves are 60 base power. You know, it's funny Gen 3 added 2 grass dark types, and all things considered, their stat spreads are fairly similar to each other. Fourth out is Crawdon at level 48 with Hyper Cutter, it knows Surf, Strength, Facade and Swords Dance. Clearly Sidney fought Norman and talked to Wally's dad next door. Gen 3 Crawdon does suffer a bit, it has great attack but lacks physical stab, due to the special split not yet existing. But Stab Surf isn't that bad at 90 special attack, it's perfectly usable anyway, and having Swords Dance with 2 similarly powerful normal attacks is a bit redundant. There are better coverage options out there. Last out is Absol at level 49 with Pressure, holding a Citrus Berry, and it knows Aerial Ace, Rock Slide, Slash and Swords Dance. No stab here, but base 130 attack and 75 special attack, that's not much of an issue. So seeing a Swords Dance Sweeper here with 3 differently typed attacks is not bad. The issue here is these moves aren't exactly powerful, so without the help from stab or an attack above 75 base power, it may not hit as hard as you might expect. Here's Sidney's team. I think it's fair to assess his team as mediocre. He has some good aspects going for it, but these Pokemon are not being utilised to their fullest, such as no stab on Shiftry or Crawdon's double normal coverage. Along with the level gap between Sidney's team and the champions, whose ace is level 58, I think it's fair to try and lessen that just a teensy bit here. Sidney's now leading with his Cacturne at level 50, its ability is Sandveil and it's holding a Miracle Seed. It knows Needle Arm, Thunder Punch, Leech Seed and Spikes. Swapping out Feint Attack for Thunder Punch to deal with the flying types, and Cotton Spore for Spikes. Despite not being a defensive Pokemon, it's got solid supporting moves and lacks in strong attacking moves. Second out is Mightyena at level 50 with Intimidate, holding a Citrus Berry, Unknowing Crunch, Dig, Double Edge and Roar. Plus 4 to its level, and the only move we've changed is Sand Attack to Dig, to provide some options for steel types. I opted to keep Roar despite the lack of synergy with Intimidate due to the potential spikes set up by the lead Cacturne, and the Citrus Berry is to help offset some of the Double Edge's recoil. Third out is Shiftry at level 50. It has the Chlorophyll ability, it's holding black glasses, and knows Feint Attack, Giga Drain, Brick Break, and Extra Sensory. A big moveset overall here, providing it with stab options even if they aren't amazing. Brick Break is solid coverage option, and Extra Sensory is now legal and stays because it's a great way to deal with fighting and poison types. Fourth is Sharpedo at level 51 with Rough Skin, holding Mystic Water, and knowing Surf, Crunch, Ice Beam, and Earthquake. Replacing Crawdaunt here, Sharpedo is as frail as can be, but knows the best dark type stab there is in this gen, in Crunch, with Stab Surf of course, and then Ice Beam to deal with grass types. Lastly, Earthquake to make use of Sharpedo's great attack. Sidney's ace is still Absol at level 52 with Pressure, holding a Silk Scarf, and its moves are Rock Slide, Aerial Ace, Hyper Beam, and Swords Dance, foregoing dark type stab to go all in on its impressive base 130 attack. Swords Dance 3 attacks with Silk Scarf, Hyper Beam to try and one-shot whatever likely injured Pokemon the player has out in the field at the moment. It aims to pick off weakened team members and give Sidney one last heavy hitter before the player hopefully beats them. So here's Sidney's new team. The only Pokemon replaced is Sharpedo. Dark types aren't that plentiful in Hoenn, but overall the movesets have had significant overall improvements. Should make Sidney a tough first entry to Hoenn's Elite Four. Phoebe the Ghost User. I don't know about all of you, but as a kid I had no idea how to pronounce her name. Phoebe? Phoebe? Just like I couldn't pronounce Facade properly, or Facade as I called it. Anyway, she is unlike her predecessor Agatha, a young, cheerful lady, and what appears to be a Hawaiian-inspired outfit, Alola confirmed. Her dialogue centers around the bond with her Pokemon, and inquiring about the players, so let's see if friendship and teamwork really trumps all with her team. She leads with her Dusclops at level 48, with Pressure, and knowing Shadow Punch, Confuse Ray, Curse, and Protect. Protect actually serving a purpose here? With Curse and Confuse Ray, it could actually see some use. That being said, I think a lot of you will have noticed whenever battling trainers with Protect in this game, they tend to spam them right at the start, oftentimes leading these moves to fail, attempting to be used in succession. I'm not sure exactly why the AI insists on doing that, but it does suck since Protect can be amazing if used correctly. Unfortunately, the AI in these games doesn't really know how to do that. In terms of stats, we have a defensive Ghost here. Well, the HP is so low though, which honestly mitigates some of that bulk. No Dusknoir and no Eviolite either, so it's the worst of both worlds, making this a very middling Pokemon with a very middling BST. Which further doesn't help that its only offensive move is Shadow Punch at 60 base power. It at least could have been Shadow Ball, so it's not an amazing lead to begin with, but I suppose Curse can be a nice way to prevent the lead Pokemon from setting up to sweep. Out second is Banette at level 49 with Insomnia, and knowing Shadow Ball, Feint Attack, Grudge, and Will-O-Wisp. With the same BST as Dusclops at 455, but leaning more offensively here. These Shadow Balls will hit hard, and the Feint Attacks exist too, I suppose. Will-O-Wisp is a decent stat spreader and can help with its low defense. The thing I don't really get is Grudge. The move itself struck me as a generally worse version of Destiny Bond. If you feint the Banette and it uses Grudge, then whatever move you use loses all of its PP. I can see it being situationally better than Destiny Bond, but very rarely. My assumption here is that Phoebe is just purely a PP drain opponent, with Pressure, Protect, and Grudge. All in all though, this is almost a one-trick pony here with strong Shadow Balls, and Will-O-Wisp does offer some support that I will rarely complain about. Third is Sableye level 50 with a Keen Eye, and it knows Shadow Ball, Feint Attack, Nightshade, and Double Team. No weaknesses? Oh my god, what do we do? Oh yeah, its stats are bad. Sableye learns a bunch of awesome moves, but even if it had them, it wouldn't help it that much. Stab Shadow Ball provides at least decent damage output, and Feint Attack to not be walled by normal types is a thing. Honestly, Double Team Cheese isn't that bad of an option with what we're working with here. Definitely an underwhelming Pokemon though. It's no Cynthia Spiritomb anyway. Fourth is Banette at level 49 with Insomnia, knowing Shadow Ball, Psychic, Thunderbolt, and Facade. Hoenn is very limited in certain types, such as Ghost, so she's got to make do with doubling up a bit. I do say I always like how when she switched into Banette initially you had no idea which of the two it is. This one is going all in on its offensive abilities, mixed attacking with good coverage moves, and look, Norman's influence creeps in again with Facade. Its special attack however shouldn't be overstated, so non-stab Thunderbolt and Psychic won't pose much of a threat to those not weak to it. Phoebe's ace is Dusclops at level 51 with Pressure, holding a Citrus Berry, and knowing Shadow Ball, Ice Beam, Rock Slide, and Earthquake. Again, an all-out offensive moveset here on the defensive Dusclops. As we can see, it learns some moves you wouldn't expect. It can definitely catch you off guard, and since the AI can easily mess up playing defensively, this isn't the worst in the world, I suppose. Here's Phoebe's team, some doubling up due to the lack of diversity. Times were different back in the day, and unfortunately we're doubling up on a Pokemon with 455 BST. Not awful, but maybe a little weak. And of course, Sableye is a measly 380 BST. She has good coverage, and for what she has to work with, it definitely could have gone a lot worse. I think it just doesn't quite reach the strength we'd want it to be. Phoebe's lead is still Dusclops at level 51, with Pressure, holding a Citrus Berry, and knowing Shadow Ball, Toxic, Curse, and Protect. Upgrading Shadow Punch to Shadow Ball and replacing Confuse Ray with Toxic, as well as the Citrus Berry healing a flat 30 HP, which is actually guaranteed over a quarter of Dusclops' max HP. The idea here is to be an item and PP drain on the player, using up status healers and ethers, while preventing setup sweepers with Curse, of course. Out second is Banette at level 52 with Insomnia, holding a Spell Tag and knowing Shadow Ball, Thunderbolt, Will-O-Wisp, and Destiny Bond. With Banette's high attack stat, I want to maximise its Shadow Ball damage with the Spell Tag, Thunderbolt to give an option for Ghost Resists, with Will-O-Wisp support and the cheeky Destiny Bond over Grudge, which is just generally a better move. Third is Sableye at level 51 with a Keen Eye, holding a Spell Tag and it knows Shadow Ball, Knockoff, Brick Break, and Metronome. So yeah, weak Sableye, I feel it's better to have a bit of shenanigans here with knocking off items and Metronome literally being anything as a wild card. Sableye can probably survive one neutral hit, but it's unlikely to survive two, so it has the option to use a Stab Shadow Ball, mess with held items, Brick Break if there's a normal type or dark type out, or Metronome just for the thrill of it. Fourth is Banette at level 52 with Insomnia, holding a Citrus Berry that knows Shadow Ball, Thunderbolt, Psychic, and Thief. I did like the coverage the original Banette number 2 provided. The only change here is with Thief. It feels appropriate to me that the Ghost type Elite 4 member would have tricky mons up to all sorts of hijinks, so obviously the Citrus Berry is to give it a consumable item and then steal the player's held item. Lastly is Dusclops at level 53 with Pressure, holding a Citrus Berry and knowing Shadow Ball, Earthquake, Pain Split, and Protect. Another PP sync here with Citrus Berry, Protect, and Pain Split to stall for a while, and with Dusclops' low base HP, it's likely to restore a lot of health. This should provide a different challenge to Sidney's hyper-offensive ace anyway. So here's Phoebe's new team. Ghost type in Hoenn is like fire types in Sinnoh, so at the very least having the duplicates movesets vary significantly counteracts the problem, at least in a small part. Her team has a lot of sneaky elements to it, like Curse, Destiny Bond, Pain Split, some statsing moves. There's a lot to deal with here, and hopefully you won't run out of PP before obtaining victory. Glacia, the Ice-type master. Her match call states she uses items for help, but spoilers, she doesn't use any more items than the other Elite 4 members. They just write whatever to fill the gap, huh? She states so far she's only seen weak trainers and Pokemon, and is yet to see a challenge, so we can assume her team is going to be OP compared to the first 2 Elite 4 members, right? Let's see. She leads with the banned to Uber's Celio at level 50, with Thick Fat knowing Ice Ball, Body Slam, Hail, and Encore. Pack it up, everyone. This is one giant hurdle you won't overcome. Ice Ball starting off at 30 base power doesn't matter when you're as tanky as Celio. After a few turns, she's firing off a 480 base power stab attack, smiting all in its way. With its balanced defenses, it can make use of Body Slam, perfect coverage that can paralyze, allowing it to outspeed and Encore a greedy setup sweeper, Cam Minding, or Swords Dancing, giving it ample time to set up Hail, to assist in chipping you down every single turn. Dare I say, the perfect Pokemon has been found. Look at this damage calc, it can even beat God. Okay, to get a bit serious here, it's a middle stage Evo with a 410 BST, not a great defensive type, thanks Ice. It lacks a water attack, which would be nice to catch any fire type users off guard. Ice Ball is already a gimmicky move, but it's best used on a tanky Pokemon that can guarantee living for multiple turns. And while Walrein is tanky, Celio, by the E4 standards, not so much. Best thing it can probably do is set up a Hail and get a Body Slam paralyzed. Second out is Glalia at level 50, with the Inner Focus ability that knows Ice Beam, Icy Wind, Crunch, and Light Screen. A mixture of support and offense, which I suppose sort of complements Glalia's stat spread of 80 across the board. Jack of some trades, master of none vibes. Ice Beam's good to see. Crunch coverage also is solid with a 20% chance to lower special defense, not defense, in Gen 3 only. Light Screen to support on the special side, and Icy Wind to guarantee to lower speed, means after one use, Glalie almost certainly outspeeds. It's not an incredible Pokemon, but like Phoebe's, as you'll see, Glacia doesn't have much to work with in Hoenn. Third is Celio at level 52 with Thick Fat, knowing Blizzard, Double Edge, Hail and Attract. Yeah, we're already kind of out of ice types here. Which I mean, it is Hoenn being a tropical region. It always just makes me question the game designers when they were working on these teams. Surely they realize if they're going to have an ice type Elite Four, then maybe they should populate the region with at least one more ice type? Shoehorn in another encounter in Shoal Cave, but I digress. It's Celio, so it's not much of a threat. Though Blizzard can still hit decently hard if it lands, which I should note in Gen 3, Hail does not provide Blizzard 100% accuracy, it's still 70, so just great really, awesome stuff Celio. Fourth out is Glacia at level 52 with Inner Focus, knowing Ice Beam, Shadow Ball, Explosion and Hail. Interesting moveset here. I like the inclusion of both Shadow Ball and Explosion, as if the player mispredicts trying to wall Explosion with a Ghost type, they could be punished for it. Remember this guy next time you're Nuzlocke and Emerald. Then the Ice moves Hail and Ice Beam are fairly standard. Lastly is Walrein at level 53 with Thick Fat, holding a Citrus Berry, and knows Ice Beam, Surf, Body Slam and Sheer Cold. Finally, a water attack to deal with fire types, and rock types actually. Walrein itself has great stats, very reminiscent of Lapras. The first three moves here, something you'd expect to find late game, gets the job done. As for Sheer Cold, 30% chance to one-hit KO anything. Another Nuzlocker nightmare here, rip Jaden's Dusclops Sin. And a lesser known property of this move is its accuracy gains a 1% boost every level above the user it is than the target. So if you're 10 levels below this Walrein, then its Sheer Cold's 40% accurate. Definitely a bit of a wild card that can throw a curveball to any match, which I can respect. Here's Glacia's team, highly limited in team composition, but it has some mixture of neat qualities. The Celios are underwhelming of course in stats and movesets. The Glacias are a lot more interesting, with one being a bit more support oriented and the other with frickin' Explosion. Lastly, the Walrein is a solid ace using both of its stabs, and the addition of Sheer Cold is terrifying considering how bulky this is. You're likely to sit through a few turns seeing the Sheer Cold text pop up. It may miss each time, but you'll be frozen in your tracks, eyes glued to the screen, praying for the best. Despite these severe limitations on ice types in Hoenn, let's see what we can do to try and improve her team for a hypothetical hard mode. Before that, I held a poll about which, if any of the Elite Four, should become double battles, and the overwhelming majority voted for Glacia. Personally not who I was thinking, but alright, let's do it. Make her team a double battle and see what we can come up with. So our lead is Glacia at level 52 with Inner Focus, holding a Never Melt Ice and knowing Blizzard, Crunch, Light Screen and Hail. Blizzard hits both targets, though it does face a harsh 50% damage penalty. It's handy that it only targets the opposing side's Pokemons anyway. Crunch is a coverage option, and though no Hoenn ice types can learn Reflect, having Light Screen for fire attacks is great, and Hail of course will give her team a leg up. Glacia's lead double partner is Starmie at level 52, with the natural cure ability and holding a Twisted Spoon. It knows Hydro Pump, Psychic, Ice Beam and Reflect. So again, we're being a bit sneaky here and pulling a Lorelei using a water type on the ice type team. Starmie isn't seen really anywhere else in the game, so a bit of rep now isn't unreasonable to me. Also, its Psychic type and attack is the best counter for fightings she could hope for. Otherwise her team is deathly weak to it. And it gets Reflect to complement Glacia's Light Screen. It's naturally a nice pairing with Glacia against its weaknesses to fire, rock and fighting. With high speed and special attack, Starmie is always a Pokemon you can respect late game. Third out is Castform at level 52 with the Forecast ability, holding a Never Melt Ice, it knows Weather Ball, Thunderbolt, Flamethrower and Hail. A classic Hoenn Ice type folks, base 70 stats across the board. Hoenn and Ice types, I was struggling. Truth be told, however, I have a soft spot for Castform, so why not? In terms of base stats anyways, it is comparable to Celio. And in a doubles format, there's less pressure on it to be the one to set up Hail. It gets really solid move coverage, but maybe some of you are thinking, Flamethrower doesn't really make sense now, does it? Well, to Glacia, this is just another way to train her Pokemon against the heat. Fourth is Glacia at level 53 with the Inner Focus ability, holding a Citrus Berry and knowing Icy Wind, Crunch, Double Team and Hail. This Glacia, under the help of Reflector Light Screen still possibly, can set up some double teams, reset up the Hails, and be a pain to deal with. Icy Wind affects both opponents and lowers speed, so it can be an effective speed controller option as well. Last out was Walrein at level 54 with Thick Fat, holding a Chesto Berry, and it knows Surf, Ice Beam, Rest, and Sheer Cold. Similar to the original, this time it's one level higher and replaced Body Slam with Resto Chesto. A bulky ace that can strike fear into your heart every turn with Sheer Cold spam. Since Surf is a spread move, I opted for Ice Beam to have some sort of focused firing attack. it should be a strong ace in this double battle setting. So here's Glacia's team. I think I've skirted the edge a little bit here, bringing in non-ice type in Starmie and Castform kind of. I suppose it's not too extreme, but still, we've had to think a bit harder here just to get a more diverse team composition. While ice types have a lot of weaknesses, hopefully the inclusion of Starmie in this double format works nicely with whatever ice type is on the field. Also, since it's doubles, I've foregone Glacia's explosions as the AI doesn't really know to protect their partner from that. Believe me, I tested it on an altered Tate and Liza battle. Either way, this should feel like a fresh and harder take on the Glacia fight. The last Elite Four member, Drake the Dragon type master. He looks like a ghostly sea captain, to be honest. Maybe he was the original captain on the abandoned ship, the SS Cactus on Route 108. He certainly looks imposing, so can we expect a tooth and nail fought battle from the Gatekeeper to Hoenn's champion? He leads with Shalgon at level 52, with Rockhead knowing Dragonclaw, Double Edge, Rock Tomb and Protect. A middle stage Evo to start with, following in the footsteps of Glacia IC, and, important to note, Shalgon evolves at level 50, not 55. So where's the excuse, huh? I guess they want to keep Salamence as the scary ace hiding it in the back, to be fair. So, mid-stage stats, it's not great. Physical attacker with good defense. To that end, I like that Rockhead is being capitalized on with Double Edge, and Dragonclaw isn't really that great with the low special attack. Rock Tomb is, well, it's a bit of utility to lower speed. Having at least a sort of support move is handy on these weaker lead Pokemon to debuff the player's likely more powerful lead. Though, we need to mention Protect. Like Phoebe's Dusclops, the AI just loves to spam this, which can negate some of Shalgon's ability to do anything. It's not a strong start, but dragons are powerful, so I'm sure the rest of his team will make up for it. Second out is Altaria at level 54 with Natural Cure, knowing Aerial Ace, Double Edge, Dragon Breath and Dragon Dance. Incredibly similar to Winona's Altaria, except hers knew Earthquake instead of Double Edge. In that sense, I'd say Drake's is a bit worse off here, as it lacks a good way to deal with steals, which is the only thing that resists Dragon. Of course, if the player lacks this type and lets the Altaria set up, it can quickly go south for them. Third out is Kingdra at level 53 with Swift Swim, knowing Surf, Body Slam, Smokescreen and Dragon Dance. Great stats and a typing that only makes it weak to Dragon. This looks like a mixture of upgrades and downgrades over Hoenn's Kingdra, such as Dragon Dancing is always a threat, especially with little exploitable weak points. But Smokescreen isn't as useful as Hoenn's Double Team. Not always, but more often than not, boosting your own stats outperforms lowering the opponent's. It's a strong addition, however. With some tweaks, it could easily go to the next level. Fourth out is Flygon at level 53 with Levitate, knowing Earthquake, Dragon Breath, Flamethrower and Crunch. Fun typing, respectable stats, and a great diverse move pool. Earthquake is the go-to here. That along with Flamethrower handles the steals that resist Dragon, and the latter also helping against ice types. Or essentially if the player uses Glalie, as Walrein should have thick fat. Overall, great jack of all trades Pokemon here that has a solid move for almost anything. Drake's ace is Salamence at level 55 with Intimidate, holding a Citrus Berry and knowing Dragonclaw, Flamethrower, Rock Slide and Crunch. It's a pseudo-legendary with strong mixed attacks. It offers similar levels of coverage to Flygon, but with better stats. While it can be easily done in by an Ice Beam, 2 at the very most, this versatile high BST Pokemon should be able to leave its mark in most battles. Here's Drake's team. Nice to see some more variety again, after discussing Phoebe and Glacia back to back. While Shalgon is a bit of a letdown, especially with its Protect spam, the rest of his team has strong options and a nice mixture of setup sweepers and versatile mixed attackers. Ice is a huge weak point, so if possible we should try to employ more countermeasures. You know what, let's make this a double battle as well. The fans voted for Glacia, but I personally had Drake in mind. So now it's time for Drake's Double Dragon. Drake's lead is still Shalgon at level 53 with the Rockhead ability holding a Silk Scarf, and it knows Double Edge, Rock Slide, Protect and Dragon Dance. And his double partner will be Kingdra at level 53 with the Swift Swim ability holding a Citrus Berry, knowing Hydro Pump, Icy Wind, Dragon Breath and Double Team. To start with, for Shalgon, we've swapped out Dragonclaw for Dragon Dance. As it's an NFE, players may be tempted to leave it alive, perceiving it as less of a threat, but if allowed to set up, it can fire off powerful Double Edges and the flinch-inducing Rock Slides. To that end, we also have Protect. Testing the Tate and Liza battle earlier, the AI seems a lot more hesitant to click this move in a doubles format, thus far less likely to waste their turn spamming it. With Kingdra, it has Hydro Pump for high single target damage. Icy Wind hits both targets and guarantees a speed drop, so even if Shelgon doesn't Dragon Dance, it may find itself outspeeding before too long. Dragon Breath as the sort of best Dragon Stab available to it. The paralysis it can induce is always nice. And lastly, Double Team. Having both of Drake's leads have some form of setup move gives a little bit of an ultimatum for the player. Go for the easier target that can set up sweep, but can protect, or go for the evasion cheese balanced Mon with barely any weaknesses. Or go for both, I guess. That's the idea anyway. Third is Altaria at level 54 with Natural Cure, holding a Sharp Beak, and knowing Aerial, Earthquake, Steel Wing, and Protect. 3 attacks and Protect. Straightforward stuff here. Steel Wing on the off chance the player is using Glacia, and it does a number of rock types, especially the fossils. Protect as well to have a second member of his team with it, potentially protecting against Ice Beams for a turn. Fourth out is Flagon at level 54, it has Levitate, holding the Soft Sand and knows Earthquake, Dragon Claw, Rock Slide and Fire Blast. It's an all-out mixed attacker, and by this point it's likely both Shelgon and Kingdra are down. And now Drake can Earthquake guilt-free, as we all know the Salamence is still waiting in the wings. So with Stab and Soft Sand, its plan is to deal solid, spread move damage. Also, Fire Blast that handles the aforementioned Skarmory, that otherwise is a solid option in this fight. Lastly, the Ace Salamence at level 55, it has Intimidate, holding a Silk Scarf, and it knows Fly, Earthquake, Hyper Beam, and Dragon Dance. Obviously, Intimidate in the doubles format is amazing. With the Silk Scarf, it's aiming to nab easy KOs at this late stage of the battle. With a Dragon Dance, it becomes an outspeeding, one-shot machine. Fly is an interesting choice here. By outspeeding and using Fly, it can make the player miss and let Drake's partner Pokemon land an attack for free. Lastly, Earthquake, yeah, with Flygon and Salamence spamming it in the back, this will spark memories of the Tate and Liza battle. So here's Drake's double battle team. It remains unchanged, as realistically what am I going to replace here? Double Kingdra lead? Would be kinda funny to be honest, but no, I think this is fine. With a fair amount of setup, and some potential for decent protect plays, even if the AI isn't optimally using it, the player will have to seriously consider their plan of attack here to not waste their turns and allow Drake to start snowballing. How appropriate that the champion of the watery Hoenn is a water type user. Wallace, formerly the Gym 8 leader in Ruby and Sapphire. He's been on the grind to become the very best. Well, almost, as Steven Stone hasn't been slacking off either, as we'll be seeing in a bit. Water is a great type, so let's see if his team utilizes this typing effectively. What better way to start than the Lord of the Whales, Wailord level 57, with Water Veil, knowing Water Spout, Blizzard, Double Edge, and Rain Dance. Its stats say mixed attacking tank, though the defenses are rather low, so it's not quite as tanky as you'd like. At least its HP is so high that the Double Edge's recoil isn't felt that much. The interesting move here is Water Spout, which, aside from Kyogre, only Wailord can learn this gen. It starts at 150 base power, but grows weaker the less HP you have. Here's the formula. This is a really amazing move in the right hands. On a faster Pokemon, it'd be insane, but with Wailord's base 60 speed, not so much. As long as you outspeed and hit it, it won't counter you with obscene damage. Still, imagine the amount of people trying to set up at the beginning, only to be met with 150 base power in the rain Water Spout. Blizzard as a move is strong of course, fairly inaccurate, but it looks like Wallace is trying to put on a show with all of these flashing moves to lead off with. Second is Tentacruel, at level 55 with Clear Body, knowing Hydro Pump, Sludge Bomb, Ice Beam and Toxic. A Gen 1 OG, great stats and typing, becoming neutral to grass and firing back with either Sludge Bombs or Ice Beams. Toxic as well is a nasty status inflictor, though I'm sure the player has an abundance of full heals or lava cookies. Third out is Ludicolo at level 56 with Swift Swim, knowing Surf, Giga Drain, Leech Seed and Double Team. Being neutral to both grass and electric, with a fairly unique type combination, I think apart from Ogerpon in the Wellspring Mask, it's still the only grass water type out there. So let's see here, 2 respectable stab attacks, Leech Seed I always appreciate, and Double Team, not what I'd expect, but hey, I feel Ludicolo could make a Double Team dance routine to confound and agitate the player. Also, stat-wise, no complaints. Let's make another comparison. It's very similar to Politoed's, just slightly worse. Fourth is Whiscash at level 56. It's oblivious and knows Surf, Earthquake, Hyper Beam, and Amnesia. Having a Pokemon immune to electric is great, and can counterback with Stab, Earthquakes. I will say Whiscash doesn't blow me away in its stats, but it certainly has a very important role in this water-only team. Hyper Beam I guess is interesting, but equates to an Earthquake in power, but has a massive downside. As for Amnesia, patching up that Spadef to help against its grass weakness is fair I suppose, but in reality I'm not sure it will be given the time to defend itself against those Pokemon. Fifth is a classic, Gyarados at level 56 with Intimidate, it knows Surf, Earthquake, Hyper Beam and Dragon Dance. Pre-Gen 4 physical special split, Gyarados does struggle a bit still, though it's far better than Gen 2 Gary, where it couldn't even learn Earthquake. And with the addition to Dragon Dance, it can boost its impressive attack and serviceable speed to become a fast one-shotting machine. This time Hyper Beam does serve a better purpose, as it is its de facto strongest attack by far. Definitely can one-shot many things after Dragon Dance or 2. Of course, we all know its main weakness to electricity is easily exploited, so it's nice for it to at least have Earthquake in its kit. Last out is Milotic at level 58 with Marvel Scale, holding a Citrus Berry, and it knows Surf, Ice Beam, Recover and Toxic. With the same stats as Gyarados, just allocated differently. Leaning more specially defensively, this could be a hard nut to crack, especially with Recover being an awesome healing option, and Toxic to whittle you down. It's a respectable ace that can mess up an unprepared player. While Toxicing it back can be a good option to take it down, aside from any full restores Wallace may still have, its Marvel Scale ability boosts its defense by 50% when status, making it bulky on both sides. So here's Wallace's team. Level-wise very competent and should outlevel the player. His team offers some counterplay to Water's bad matchups, and he's probably the most competent champion I've reviewed thus far, but there's always ways to improve them. So let's make him truly a powerful champion fitting of an Emerald hard mode. Wallace's new lead, and trust me, I really was pacing back and forth on this, is Gorbis at level 57 with the Swift Swim ability, holding a Mystic Water, and it knows Hydro Pump, Psychic, Ice Beam and Rain Dance. Despite lead Warlord with Water Spout being awesome against the unprepared, for a prepared hard mode player, I fear it won't be nearly as effective as we all hope. Thus, we have 3 attacks, Rain Dance Gorbis. Its speed is low, but in the rain it will outspeed almost anything, and a nice base 114 special attack stat means Mystic Water, Stab, and possibly rain boosted Hydro Pumps can punch a hole through just about anything, and with solid coverage attacks in Psychic and Ice Beam, this should minimize the breathing room the player has to muck around. I also wanted to reflect Hoenn's lead, as in my Fixing Hoenn's Gym Leader video, watch it if you haven't already, I replaced Hoenn's Love Disc to a Gorbis, so a little nod, I suppose, to the man who influenced him. Second out is Tentacruel at level 56 with the Clear Body ability, holding a Poison Barb and knowing Sludge Bomb, Hydro Pump, Ice Beam and Rain Dance. Not much has changed here, just the Poison Barb held item and changing Toxic for Rain Dance. Most players will just heal the Toxic next turn, which makes Wallace spend a turn on an 85% accurate move to gain a turn and small chip damage, besides simply Poison with Sludge Bomb. Third is Ludicolo at level 56 with Swift Swim, holding a Miracle Seed and knowing Surf, Giga Drain, Ice Beam and Leech Seed. Ludicolo justified itself nicely on the original team, neutrality to Electric and Ice, having Swift Swim, and Leech Seed, which I have a soft spot for. I just replaced Double Team with Ice Beam, so it wouldn't be walled by grass types. Fourth out is Whiscash at level 56, with the Oblivious ability, holding a Quick Claw, knowing Earthquake, Rock Slide, Fissure, and Rain Dance. Obviously we had to keep an Electric Immune Pokemon on his team, and since Hoenn got Lantern, Wallace gets Whiscash. Even if its stat spread isn't great, Stab Earthquakes will do the job of course, and with the Quick Claw, those speedy electrics may not get a last ditch attack in if the player opts to keep them in. Also, I realised if we're going to run Quick Claw, why not bless it with Fissure? Whiscash after all learns the move at level 56. Truly, Smogon will look down on Wallace's underhanded strategies. Fifth is Gyarados at level 56. It has Intimidate, is holding a Silk Scarf, and knows Hydro Pump, Earthquake, Hyper Beam and Dragon Dance. The only changes here is the Silk Scarf item and replacing Surf with Hydro Pump. Gyarados' base 60 special attack can't be getting away with the reliable Surf. It's not a bad moveset, and if it's given one turn to set up, it can one-shot a lot of the Pokedex. Last out is Milotic at level 58, with the ability Marvel Scale, holding the Leftovers, and knowing Surf, Ice Beam, Miracle, and Recover. Replacing Toxic with Miracle with Milotic's very high special defense should leave the player second guessing if they should use a super effective attack, dealing significant damage but being KO'd by Miracle in return, or just avoiding that scenario altogether. With Leftovers and Recover, this ensures the Miracle strategy can be repeated several times, and make Milo quite the tanky gatekeeper between the player and the Hall of Fame. Here's Wallace's team. As you can see, the only change is from Wailord to Gorbis. I found editing his team fairly tough because it already has a lot of decent movesets and Pokemon that compensate for Water's weaknesses. So really overall a rather small change in comparison to my previous champion changes, though here I've tried to make rain more present throughout. The Water champion of the Water region really wants to maximize its damage with Water. The champion of Ruby and Sapphire, Steven Stone, is now the post-Elite Four Super Boss. Akin to that of Red, you find him in Meteor Falls, staring at some stones like the dork he is. Not strictly a Steel-type trainer, or Rock as his name may imply, Instead, he seems to be themed around the general idea of excavation. As such, he uses steel, ground, and rock types. Honestly, I wish Pokemon more often would give boss trainers wider themes to play with than usually just monotype, such as Colress. Anyway, we can expect his levels to be sky high, but does that carry his team alone, or is he worthy of being the secret super boss of this region? He leads with Skarmory at level 77 with a keen eye and knowing Steel Wing, Aerial Ace, Spikes, and Toxic. Good typing, good stat distribution, and entry hazard lead slot. Certainly looks like a promising start. Nothing bad to note on really, aside from no held items, but that's just how Game Freak does it. Second out is Claydol at level 75 with Levitate and knowing Earthquake, Ancient Power, Reflect, and Light Screen. A bulky Pokemon with 2 support moves, giving it ample time to spam Earthquakes and Ancient Power. And this moveset isn't bad by any means, I just wish there was space to slot in Stab Psychic, but that's just a bit of the 4 move slot syndrome. Third is Aggron at level 76 with Sturdy. It knows Earthquake, Dragon Claw, Thunder, and Solar Beam. Alright Steven, you wanted to be a bit quirky with this one. Had to get value out of those TMs gathering dust, huh? Well, looking at Aggron's stats, not my first choice to dump a bunch of special TMs onto. Maybe he wanted to try a meme build to give the players a chance. A challenge run, perhaps? Special only Aggron, except Earthquake, but don't worry about that. So, yeah, 2 solid starting Pokemon, and now Aggron is properly perplexing. Must have been an intern designing this one team member and picking all the cool sounding moves. Fourth is Credilli at level 76 with Suction Cups, knowing Giga Drain, Ancient Power, Ingrain, and Confuse Ray. A unique type combination with fairly balanced stats, leading defensively, as well as being a rare, grass type Swampert players must overcome. It's not bad, but this is one of the rare times I need to talk about PP. See, Giga Drain and Ancient Power have 5 PP each, and with the defensive nature of this mon, as well as Giga Drain, Steven having 4 full restores, you could legitimately see this Pokemon run out of PP, forced to use Confuse Ray spam until it faints. So that sucks. Also, while its 2 attacks aren't awful, they're both 60 base power and thus aren't exactly powerful. Fifth is Armaldo at level 76 with Battle Armor, and it knows Ancient Power, Water Pulse, Aerial Ace, and Slash. Another unique type combo here, and it learning water moves is cool and all, just save it for the physical special split next gen please. Its stats resemble a more stereotypical rock type, with great attack and defense and low speed. Its moves feel rather underwhelming though. Aerial Ace and Slash give the vibes of Absol making do what it can, but Armaldo has a far more interesting move pool it could be using. So this guy has a bit of wasted potential. Steven's ace, Metagross, at a whopping level 78 with the clear body ability, holding a Citrus Berry, it knows Meteor Mash, Psychic, Earthquake, and Shadow Ball. With pseudo-legendary stats and an amazing moveset, this guy can clean up the rest of the players' weakened team by this point. Its only lowish stat is speed, but considering it's likely to outlevel the player significantly, it may still go first. Meteor Mash is the best steel move in the game, a little inaccurate, but its power is great and at 20% chance to raise its attack stat, can turn this into a one-shot wonder. It's a great versatile high BST ace, with a solid typing that should put up a fight no matter what it's against. So here's Steven's team. Overall pretty respectable, specialising in 3 types essentially, allowing a wider range of Pokemon to balance his team. There are some flaws and weird aspects of course, looking at you Aggron, which we can easily upgrade. But all in all, this is a competent super boss, makes me wish it'd be a standard to have one in every Pokemon game. Now let's alter his team and make it ironclad against even the veterans of this series. His lead is still Skarmory at level 77 with the Keen Eye ability, holding a Sharp Beak, and it knows Steel Wing, Drill Peck, Whirlwind, and Spikes. Though this Spikes lead now has Whirlwind to keep cycling out the player's Pokemon, racking up chip damage, and with its Sharp Beak and Drill Peck, its damage output goes from a base 60 Aerial Ace to almost 1.5 times that to base 88 Drill Peck. Second out is Claydol at level 76, levitating and twisting up a spoon. It knows Earthquake, Psychic, Reflect, and Light Screen. Yeah, quite simply having a defensive screen setter I can't really fault. Adding some Psychic Stab boosted by the Twisted Spoon helps a bit better against any fighting types. He starts the battle with a more defensive approach, so let's head to his next mon that is expressing how violent it can be. It's Aggron at level 76 with the Rock Head ability, holding a Metal Coat, and it knows Iron Tail, Rock Slide, Double Edge, and Earthquake. A slow and hard hitter. Gone with that weird special set, we have a powerful yet inaccurate stabs, or the reliable no drawback Double Edge and Earthquake. The same as before, it's a straightforward 4 attacking Pokemon, but it's actually using its good offensive stat this time. Fourth is Credilli at level 76 with the Suction Cups ability, holding a Leper Berry, and knows Giga Drain, Ancient Power, Solar Beam, and Ingrain. PP problems largely solved with the addition of the powerful 10 PP 2-turn Solar Beam, and imagine it spams ancient powers, runs out, you think it's over, only for that move to be back up to 5 PP. Get wrecked. Ingrain remained as TBH, the high level bulky Pokemon getting passive recovery is solid, and the AI isn't one for switching out either way. 5th is Armaldo at level 76, with the Battle Armor ability, holding a Quick Claw, knowing Rock Slide, Brick Break, Air Release, and Swords Dance. Armaldo is now a 3-attack setup sweeper, with its low speed being mitigated by the Quick Claw, potentially outspeeding and landing boosted Rock Slides that can flinch. Last out, the big bad Metagross at level 78, with the Clear Body ability, holding the leftovers, it knows Meteor Mash, Psychic, Earthquake, and Shadow Ball. I already stated that this is a great moveset, no need to mess with it really, so with the addition of leftovers, this high BST Mon will become even harder to KO. Here's Steven's team. Level-wise, there was no need to increase it, but with the addition of held items and moveset overhauls for Armaldo and Aggron, as well as smaller upgrades here and there, such as Skarmory using Drill Peck instead of Air Release, every team member here should be a threat the player has to take seriously. That's it for Hoenn everyone, we even did their rivals in a previous video you can watch here. Anyway, let me know what you thought, and tell me your suggestions for the Hoenn Elite Four. I'm definitely going to be taking a break from the series, but whenever I come back to it, the next region I'll be taking a look at should probably be looking at Sinnoh. Don't quote me on that, but it'd be fun to try Gen 4. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a good day. See you later.